Welcome to the FreeGameDonD podcast, life, family, and business. Listen, today I have David Mew in, and he is the founder of Manhood and Womanhood Tour here in Augusta, Georgia. He's also a 20-year retired military veteran, and he also works in the cybersecurity field here in Augusta. David, tell us a little bit about, I guess, your background, military. Then, of course, looks like your purpose and what you're doing now with Manhood Tour. And that's because that's kind of how we met. Like, me and my wife were at a community event, and you stopped by our table and talked to us, and you said, "Hey, man, I'd like for y'all to come and speak at at one of our event programs." And I guess me being in the program, I was like, man, this is pretty dope, man. So I really had a lot of respect for what you were doing in the community. And that's kind of how we linked up. And now we're here on the podcast chopping it up, man. So just kind of, I guess, speak a little bit about your military background and also Manhood Tour. And then we'll kind of get into just kind of like your childhood and things like that. Just, because this is going to be about overcoming trauma. And almost using that to fuel change in your community. So, well, our community rather. But either way, David.
Okay. Yeah, appreciate you having me on this show, man. Good brother, man. I appreciate it, man. The good energy from day one. I knew it, from meeting you at the, it was like a career day or something like that at the school. Sure. And I was just like, hey, that guy right there, he's solid, and I'm glad you came through and helped us out with our program. But yeah, man, I'm from Thompson, Georgia, born and raised down there, come from, nothing, the struggle. I'm the middle child of three, 40 years old, retired from the military, did 20 years, not a day over.
Not a day over, huh?
Not a day over, you know what I'm saying? I was thankful to be able to go. It was one of those things where it was like, hey, I remember going to the district attorney and my mom helping me out. I was on probation because I had a friend that went into the military before me. We were supposed to go on a buddy thing. Mm-hmm. That's when you had the buddy system or whatever, but I couldn't go because I was on probation. Mm-hmm. And for a little small charge or whatever, but I was able to get the probation dismissed, by the district attorney, and it was all she wrote. I remember going down to the recruiting station like, hey, man, I need to go right now. Like, send me to the military. He was like, so wait, hold on, young man. You know what I'm saying? I was like, nah, I'm ready to go, man. I need to get out of here. I got a baby girl I just had, and I ain't trying to be caught down here. I ain't trying to get in no more trouble. So I went into the military, did 20 years, retired in 2023, been married twice in my life, 4 kids.
Hold on a second. Before you get into your marriage, you were deployed 4 times to Iraq. So you weren't just in the military. You was,
Oh yeah.
You put in some extensive work there.
Yeah. Iraq was I was a truck driver when I first joined. Right. So 88 Mike, if anybody know military, I was a truck driver. So for the first 5 years in the military, I drove trucks. Deployed 4 times to Iraq. Been blown up. Been shot at. Then shot people. War. Whatever you want to call war. I've been through it. So that'll change you too, as a person. They help groom me as a man. Mm-hmm. So yeah, those 20 years didn't come easy, So just know that after that last time I was at war, I changed my job. I was like, hey, I ain't doing this truck driving no more, man. I need to find something else. And I had a mentor of mine said like, hey, you need to get into IT. I'm like, what is that, And I was like, oh, I do like computers. I remember liking that when I was in school. Mm-hmm. He was like, yeah, change your job to IT. And I changed my job. And, hey, that was the best decision ever. Best decision ever.
Okay. So we got retired military. And you literally just got out. Like, you retired, what, like 2 years ago?
Yeah, 2023.
Yeah, so you retired in 2023.
Yeah.
And then you started the Manhood Tour and Womanhood Tour, which is a 501c3 organization. But even that in itself is predicated on some of your struggles as a young person. So let's kind of speak to that. Some of the trauma you had to overcome in life to become a very successful young man and to retired from the military, founder of a great organization, Manhood Tour. So kind of speak to some of that.
Yeah, I turn my pain into passion, man, and purpose instead of using an excuse. So growing up, I like to say I was a street baby.
Listen, man, hold on, because you said that earlier, man. You said I was just down. I was a street baby, and I liked it. I don't know why. I loved it.
Street baby, man. Pretty much, with it, the village kind of took care of me. The elders that would see me walking around, and from neighborhood to neighborhood, house to house, candy lady to candy lady. So just not having no father figure. My father was he got taken over by drugs at an early age. He had no education. So he was a construction guy, carpenter, best construction guy I know. He could build a house by himself.
Wow.
Anybody that know my dad, late great dad David Mew, but he passed away a couple years ago from cancer. But he wasn't present. He was addicted to drugs, so not having him around. And then my mom, she had to work, of course, and put food on the table and keep a roof over our head. So, she worked all her life at restaurants. You know what I'm saying? So she had like 3 or 4 jobs, and we ain't had no transportation. So, not having transportation growing up, you got to find a way. You got to find a ride. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Let me ask you this, David, because you talk about being a street baby, and I was talking to another one of my guests, and Zori. Shout out to Zori, and he was talking about how because his childhood it was pretty rough too, and he talked about how he was raised by other children. And I never thought about that, but like even me, I had a mom and a dad in the household, and I still allowed some of the kids in the community to somewhat raise me because of what they thought about certain things. Like when I would bring my books home from school, but because they didn't think that was cool, I didn't do it no more. Because what they thought about that meant a lot to me, right? And so you being a street baby, you probably picked up on things that was going on by other young cats, and you think these cats know something. They don't know anything.
Right.
Like they're boys.
Right.
But this is who you kind of end up learning from. So, so can you speak to that?
Yeah. So in my neighborhood, everybody had their own household differences, right? Some household had 2 parents, some household didn't. So I would gravitate to those who had love. And I didn't know that until I became a man myself, but I knew now that I would gravitate to the household where somebody was being shown love, right? Like I had a best friend, good friend, childhood friend when I was growing up named Cap Jr. He was killed last year, but he had a great household. He had a lot of love from both parents, and so I would gravitate to that, and then I would hear, the discipline that they would get or the information that was shared with them, and I would learn from that, and that's how I would move. You know what I'm saying? So from household to household, I would just pay attention to the parenting styles in the household and how they was, disciplining their kids and talking to their kids and things that they got. You know what I'm saying? I would learn it from that. So that's why I say street baby. It's like from household to household, neighborhood to neighborhood, and just always spending the night at somebody's house. This is how they have dinner. This is how they have, breakfast. Just listening and learning from that. That's what I learned. Because in school, like, I ain't had no problem with school. Like, I would go to school. I ain't want to miss school because, I ain't had nothing else to do. So I'm like, shoot, I'm going to school. Like, I ain't skip school.
So school was your safe space.
Yeah. School was where I'm going to eat at, where I'm going to talk to people. Ooh. You know what I'm saying? Where I'm going, this is where, you had free, you were free to, mingle and just have fun. So I enjoyed school, But one thing I didn't do, I never brought a book bag home. I never brought a book home. I never studied. I never had.
And why is that?
I ain't had nobody really, telling me I had to.
For sure.
I ain't had that, and I ain't had no problem. I graduated on time. I guess I'm blessed by, I know I am. I'm blessed by God that I had the intelligence and and the understanding to understand, lessons in school and keep up with my work. But, I would do my homework at school before I left school. So I didn't bring a book home. I didn't, and like how you said, it didn't seem cool. I wore a book bag.
It wasn't cool.
But I ain't had books in the book bag, I had,
cool.
I was selling candy when I was in 2nd and 3rd grade,
You too?
Yeah. Selling candy in 2nd and 3rd grade. So that's what I had in my book bag.
But see, I don't think some people understand the struggle of what you just now said. And so so that's why I respect what you're doing with Manhood Tour so much. You talking about, bruh, I couldn't wait to go to school so I can eat. That's why I ate it.
Yeah.
There's kids out here right now, like they don't eat unless they go to school.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy, man.
Yeah. That's why I had fun at, That's why I knew everybody was going to be at school.
For sure.
You don't need to stand at home. You're going to be by yourself.
And you're going to be hungry.
Yeah.
No, that's good, man. So, when you think about the birthing of Manhood Tour and Womanhood Tour, it started with your childhood. So I know you talked about how your dad, just recently passed of cancer, but speak to kind of, some of the abuse and some things you went through as a child at the hands of your father, and even some things you dealt with your mom, which may not have been physical abuse, but mental abuse maybe.
Yeah. So, like we were talking earlier, like my father, before he got kicked out, when I was like 7 or 8, he used to whoop my ass. They just what it was. You do something wrong, you get a whooping. There wasn't no talking, and wasn't none of that. You was gonna get a whooping. You didn't make it home before the street light came on, you was getting a whooping. You might well go ahead and pull your pants down is what it's gonna be. And then he was kicked out when I was 7 or 8, and then I was living with my aunt, and she used to beat me. I'm talking about that was a different type of beating. Anything. I remember still to this day, still don't eat these little green field peas that they cook, the little vegetables. She just beat me. Like, you gonna eat that, whatever. So
she would beat you for not eating it.
Beat you for not eating. Beat you for looking wrong. Beat you for saying the word stupid, bastard, whatever. Like, beat you. So I was that child that was always told that you bad, you need your ass whooped. Stay out of grown folk business type stuff, like.
Heard all that before.
Yeah, sit down. So that pain, though, that pain and all of that, then my mom wasn't there, and don't get me wrong, my mom was a great mother. She just wasn't present, and she didn't have that structure. She didn't have that support system either, so her not knowing either, a lot of things are passed down from parent to parent. So she didn't show love, so she always said it was tough love. Because she didn't show love. So not having that love, not having that structure and that guidance, I had to find it somewhere, So I found it in the streets, and talking to other people in the streets and other, kids and other older. I always hang around older people, period. You know what I'm saying? So the older population, they will always, kind of try to guide me, and that's why I end up selling drugs at like 11, 12 years old. I'm out there selling drugs, learning how to, sell crack and driving down the road or go pick up a pack and stuff like that. So like that molded me as a person. But I knew at an early age, around I think about 16, 15, is when I had decided not to sell crack no more. I was like, I never forget the person I sold it to. It was a pregnant woman. I'm a 15, 16-year-old boy. And I'm like, ma'am, you don't need to be smoking crack because you got a baby, don't. And she's like, don't worry about my damn baby. You give me that, what I'm saying? Give me that rock. I'm like, but you got a baby, like, it's going to hurt your baby, ain't it? Like, boy, give me that rock. So I ended up just giving her the whole thing, and I was just like, I'm done. Like, I ain't want to do it no more. I stopped with dealing with the crack, and I just kept with the marijuana. So I kept had a whole bunch of friends. I'm hanging with the white boys and the black boys. So I'm doing, I'm on both sides of the town. So I'm the guy. They know that I can get you the drug, the green. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I learned a whole lot of, from just in and out of the streets.
Yeah, no, I like that, man. So that's where you get Street Baby from.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, man. You talked about how your dad, he ended up getting kicked out of the house when you was like 8. So, but you were close to your dad, even though he was an abusive father. So, kind of talk about that abuse.
Yeah. I remember my dad getting kicked out, and I was upset with my mom. And my dad, he moved into a little house, a little kind of like a shack, kind of like people might call it a bando nowadays, but it had electricity and all that. And I used to stay there. We used to watch movies together. We used to watch Terminator, and Steven Seagal.
Mm-hmm.
Used to watch those movies when I was a little boy. And I never forget the time that I came home and I had told my mom, "Hey, I seen Daddy. He was smoking cigarettes out of a can." She was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah. He was. We had went to Al house and over there with Al house, and he told me to stay outside, and I was outside, but then I looking through the cracks and."
So hold on a second, D. So make sure we paint this picture the right way. So Dad had moved out. So he wasn't, so you was going to spend time with Dad.
Yeah.
Right. At his house. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. And because I love my dad as a little boy, so and I was his only son, so I'm like going with my daddy, what I'm saying?
Right.
So and even though he used to beat my ass, I still
Right.
going with my daddy, what I'm saying? So I went back home, I telling my mom, I'm like, "Hey man, Al and Daddy are smoking cigarettes out of a can." So I'm like, what that is, Ma? She was like, she never told me what it was, but I never went to go see my dad again. And then after that, he really got bad off crack, and he was just, crackhead, homeless after that. He ain't had no house after that either. Like that was his last house that he lived in himself. So like, yeah, my mom was just like, "You ain't going back again," and she never told me why. But I learned over years why I didn't go back and what he was smoking out that can.
Whew. I know, because I know we're gonna get into your mom here in a second, but it's just amazing that even because as a child you don't know what you don't know. You just know that I love this parent.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. I love my mom, my dad, whatever they got going on. Like you're not privy to why you can't go over here anymore.
right.
So now you're end up having some sort of resentment towards your mom or your dad that you're actually living with. They won't allow you to go visit the other parent, and for good reason. but they can't really get into that with you.
Right.
So shout out to mama for not really, because you probably would have really felt some sort of way about Dad.
Yeah.
So she was in a sense trying to protect you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And even protecting his image, because what I'm saying. I mean, eventually you figured it out, but man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge shout out to her for that one, because nowadays parents will
Come on, man.
alienate.
Big time.
I don't know if they ever heard the term parent alienation, but it's real. Anytime you feeling grief or attitude or angry towards a parent, you should never, share that with your child, because now they want to share you want that same sentiment. You want them to believe and feel the same way. So now they're going to have this feeling towards that parent. Like when you're upset, that ain't for that child to understand why you're upset and what made you upset and all of that, and you talking bad about them. Like, I'm glad you brought that up, because my mom never did that. No matter what happened, she never talked down on my dad. She never, said, your dad is a crackhead or anything she did do. She would be like, "You're going to be just like your dad." That's what she used to do to me. "You're going to be just like your dad. Keep on doing that. You're going to be just like your dad." But other than that, she never said, I never knew he was a bad man. You know what I'm saying? Like what he was doing was bad. She never talked down on him, never bad mouthed him, even when he used to beat her ass. Like when we was little, he used to beat her ass, like knock the teeth out, all kinds of stuff. Never talked down on my dad. Never.
Wow.
She was there helping me until the day he died.
Nah, that's big, because today we got mothers talking down on good fathers, much less one that's had some concerns that back like when you were a child. Now I know me and you were talking a little bit about the abuse and corporal punishment and how neither one of us really subscribe to that, even though early on, that's what we saw. So I think we duplicated it initially. Then we realized, okay, that's because I think when you become a parent, you start to think, okay, well, this is what was done to me, so this is the right way to do it. And then you start to realize, no, it's not. This is not. This because, you know what I'm saying, this is a learned behavior does not mean it's a correct behavior.
Yeah.
So can you speak to that?
Yeah, man. You know, getting your ass beat, you know, you think that that's normal, you know, that's going to correct an action, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, you do something wrong, I beat your ass, and, you know, but that goes back all the way to Willie Lynch syndrome and, you know, the slave mentality where you get the slashes and all of that. So my first two girls, my oldest 22 and our 19-year-old, my oldest specifically, oh yeah, she used to get her ass whooped. You know, I used to whoop her ass. You know, her mama used to call me just to whoop her ass. You know, her mama was like, you know, tonight he did this and this and this and that. I need you to come whoop her ass. I'm on my way. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I go over there, what you did at school and why you peed in the bed, or, you know, it was anything, you know, and she get a whipping for it. And you know, the older I got, the more kids I had, I understood that ain't helping. You know, that's you creating a trauma that is gonna last for a lifetime. You know, so now how you gonna undo that? It's really you can't do anything about it. You know, as far as undoing that trauma that you created. So I know me and my oldest daughter now, we still, you know, have some friction here and there, but we're better off than we used to be. But whooping ass ain't what you want. That ain't the solution. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I think that there was probably a time in this country where certain groups of people probably didn't think that conflict resolution was applicable to children. Right? You know, so, you know, they can exercise conflict resolution with other adults, but when it came to kids, it's almost like, well, you know, we don't have to find a, you know, a peaceful way to kind of, you know, teach these children right for wrong. It's just, you know, I don't have to engage in conflict resolution with a child. And honestly, man, I think a lot of children were damaged because of that. Now, granted, you know, hurt people.
Yeah. All the time.
So, you know, sometimes, you know, parents don't know any better because they're hurt. And when you're hurt, there's nothing else left for you to do but hurt someone else.
Yeah.
Right. And so yeah. So let's talk about mom. So mom, shout out to mom. I mean, mom was there. But like you said, you know, there's a difference between being there and actually being there.
Yeah.
So kind of speak to that.
Yeah, mom was she was that provider. For real. Now that I'm talking about it and thinking about it, like, she made sure we had, you know, the food, the roof, and that's what she did. She provided. Whenever I needed, you know, and I really needed, she made sure I had it. You know, if I wanted to go play recreation sports, hey mom, can you sign me up for this sport? You know, football. How you gonna get there? I'm gonna get there. You know what I'm saying? Well, you know, I ain't got no transportation. You know, I ain't gonna be able to get you there. I got a bike, you know. You gonna ride a bike all the way over there? Yeah, mom, I'm gonna ride a bike all the way over there. You know what I'm saying? So, and shout out to the neighborhood men that was at that time that would let us get in the back of their truck, and the coaches like Coach Carl and all of them, and take us to practice. But and Willie Williams, and there's a lot of other men that used to go around and pick up the young boys throughout the neighborhood and take them to practice and stuff like that. So shout out to them. But yeah, I used to you know, ask my mom, I want to play baseball. But as far as her showing that love and that affection and spending that quality time, I wasn't there.
So anytime you ask mama about sports, first thing mama say is, I heard this from my own mama. How you gonna get there?
Yeah.
How you gonna get there?
Yeah.
You can play, but how you gonna get there? And I don't know, when you said that resonated with me, because I heard that a lot. How you gonna get there?
How you gonna get there? You just say, hey, and I got there. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? We used to be real resilient back in the day, though. So we didn't mind going outside, walking, riding bikes. I can get to practice. Don't worry about that. I just need you to sign off on this saying I can play.
I need you to pay for it.
Just pay for it.
Pay for it.
Yeah.
So I can get on the team, so I can play. You know. So and every blue moon, my mom did come to a game or two. I will say that she'd come to a game or two. You know, and see how I did. You know, I really enjoyed sports. And it's a small country town. That's all you had. You ain't had nothing else, you know what I'm saying? So you was outside, baby. You was on your bicycle, riding around the whole city, and then playing sports, football for where we from. That was a thing. So, we all played football. So, she was gladly to help out with that as far as encouraging me to play football and playing sports.
Yeah. So, but here's the weird thing, though. You talked about Mama and how, even though she was a phenomenal provider and she was holding it down as best she could, working several jobs, but you talked about the love aspect of it, that you didn't feel like Mama was able to show you, the love that you needed as a young man. Can we speak to that real quick?
Yeah. Basically, like, I'm learning that as a parent myself now, that you gotta show love. You gotta tell your child you love them. Like, even if it feels weird or it feels awkward, you gotta say it. You gotta give them a hug. You gotta spend that quality time, play with them, talk to them, eat dinner with them. Take them out to eat. Like, wow, I don't want to get too deep in this because I get a little emotional, man. Now I'm thinking about it, man. Like, this, I ain't had that. You know what I'm saying? Growing up, so that spending that real quality time and talking about how your day was at school, who your friends are, who you dating, what you thinking about, what's on your mind, how you feel when I say this to you or I discipline you this way, like, what does it make you feel? Do you understand how I feel? When you do this, and how, what you do make me feel. Talk about your feelings with your kids, and how you feel, because they need to know too. That's how they're going to learn, so that's that love that's missing, in parenting. People think that just because I provide for you that I love you. That's not love. You obligated to provide for me because you brought me in this world. I didn't ask to be here. You know what I'm saying? So you either gonna provide for me, or the system is, or somebody else is, right? So you ain't got no choice with that. But that love part, that's the obligation. That's what the people are missing, is really showing that love. And love is through actions. It's not through that monetary shit. Like, it's not through, a Facebook post and I done bought you something for your birthday. No, it's that mental. It's that emotional. How you connected with that child. Are you trying to connect with that child? You know what I'm saying? So that's what I miss as a child. And I know that molds and grooms you, and it hurts and it's painful and it's traumatic and all of that. Like, it makes you who you are. But you decide who you're gonna be at the end of the day. You can't blame nobody for what they didn't do or did do. It's on you to decide what you're gonna do moving forward. So I, as a man, like, I like to connect with my kids. I like to, talk to them, spend time with them, actually get into their mind and understand what they're feeling and what their visions are, what they believe in.
Yeah, so I'm just sitting there listening to you talk, because I think that people assume that mothers, just because they're, I guess, women, that they know how to love, and sometimes some women do not know how to show love, maybe because they were never loved, right? And so they don't know how to tell their child, "I love you," and to really be an emotional, form of support for that child. Because they're dealing with some unresolved trauma themselves. And sometimes they're not even aware that, I never told my son in a real way that I love him. I never sat my son down and asked him what's important to him. How do you feel, son? Just that emotional connection that you expect to get from your parents. When we don't get it, I mean, it does affect us, man. To me, in my opinion, I think providing for your children is the bare minimum.
Yeah. I agree.
That's not the maximum, but for some parents, they think that, I did this. I did my job. No, you didn't. I mean, that's like clocking in, but not doing any real work. You know what I'm saying? Like, you clocked in. That's all you did. You know what I'm saying? You went to the job, you clocked in, you did not do the job.
And you weren't present.
You was not
nowhere to be
present. Matter of
found.
fact, you clocked in and left.
Yeah.
So I think that you start talking about doing the work of building a child. I mean, so much emotional work has to be done to build that child up. So I just like you talking about your mom and just missing that, because you talked about how you made a post one time on Facebook and she internalized it.
Yeah.
And I've heard young people say that, man, I made this post and my mom or my dad, whoever, called me about it, but this was just me expressing, something that I've gone through, and they took it personal and made it about them. And it's hard to really deal with parents like that they make everything about themselves. I mean, because honestly, you're giving this person grace already.
Yeah.
I'm not even holding you accountable for the things that I've experienced as a child. I mean, I'm letting it go, but a part of my healing process is me talking about it.
Yeah.
But you won't even let me do that without catching feelings.
Right. And it had nothing to do with her. It was about my upbringing and how I value the experience I had with my childhood friend and his parents. And I was just like, man, he had a lot of love. And, this man would let me wear his clothes, his shoes, and play with his toys and all of that. It was all about that and his death, And then she called me and was like, well, you making it seem like I wasn't a good parent. And am I making it seem that way, or are you interpreting it that way? And then it had nothing to do with you, but who's in your ear saying, oh, you wasn't there, like if it's the truth, it's the truth.
Right, come on now.
But we ain't got to talk about the truth if you don't want to. You know what I'm saying? So like, and parents can't handle that. They can't. But like again, like, I don't blame her for it because, her parent wouldn't didn't show her, so somebody got to break the cycle. Somebody got to break it. Somebody got to understand that, hey, this just ain't healthy.
Right.
This just ain't right. We can do better. Somebody got to see that. And I'm standing to say that, hey, I'm not going to be that way. I'm going to live different, and I'm going to make sure my kids understand that, hey, I love you. At the end of the day, I love you. You might not get everything you want from me, when you want it. But even when I don't give it to you, that's love too. So understand that I love you. And it ain't about the monetary for me. Don't call me just for when you want something. Call me when you want to talk. Or you feeling some kind of way. I want to help you navigate through those feelings and those emotions. So that you start thinking more positive, start overcoming obstacles, and you see a barrier. It ain't nothing to you. So that's where I'm at with it.
No, I think that's strong, man. And so when I think about all the work you do with Manhood Tour and Womanhood Tour, I mean, I see, where all that resonated from, because people really need an outlet. They really need someone to truly care about them. And sometimes when you grow up as a child and you feel like, maybe your mom or your dad did not protect you,
right.
You want to protect your children and other people that you talk to, like let them know, hey, this is a safe space for you to,
right.
Talk about your feelings. And I'm not really sure, like what happened to us as a society where we made people feel like, it was a weakness to talk about, the things you're dealing with.
Yeah, like in Manhood Tour, like that pain to purpose, like I believe Manhood Tour and Womanhood Tour is all the hard lessons learned, right, that I learned coming up, right? I don't want our people to keep learning those lessons the hard way, that destruction, because you get so depressed sometimes where like you give up, or you make a bad choice or a bad decision where you trying to get that fast success, but you don't want to work hard to get the long-term success, or you in a situation where you just like, I don't have nowhere else to go, so I'm about to do this. So those hard lessons, especially emotional intelligence, that's why we start off our program with emotional intelligence, because counseling, a lot of, where I'm from, they don't talk about counseling. I didn't learn about counseling until I joined the military. And like, you can't get counseling from your mama when she caused the trauma that you had. You can't get counseling from your grandmama when they need counseling too. You can't get counseling from your brother, your sister, your baby mama, whoever it is. Like, you need a non-biased, somebody that don't know you, that's a professional, right? And that's their job. Now, you might have to go from counselor to counselor because everybody ain't perfect. But once you find that person, and you keep that faith, like you gonna get the counseling you need, and you start getting the healing you need. You know what I'm saying? So, cause everybody need healing all day, every day. It ain't no completely healed person. So I believe in that healing. So starting off with emotional intelligence, and you got to see it when, especially in the men's room. Men in there, I ain't finna talk about my feelings.
Right.
Why you don't want to talk about your feelings? What's wrong with that? Who gonna judge you in this room? Like talk about your feelings, brother. Like I'm here to listen. I want to hear it. Like let's talk about it, cause I got feelings too. I done been through some shit too. So let's talk about it. But then when we set that environment and they start opening up, it's healing taking place in the room. It's temporary, right? It's during that time, but healing starts to, that seed is planted, and now we healing. Now all they got to do is do the work. Hey, they go Elephant in the Room. Shout out to Elephant in the Room for free counseling service, one session that they provide for our participants that come through our program. But hey, now call Elephant in the Room and get you a counselor so you could talk to them on a consistent basis. Now you feel what it feels like to open up. Now you know what it feels like to talk about your feelings as a man. Because a lot of men, they say it all the time in the program. Man, no woman don't want to hear how you feel. They just want to know what you provide. Nah, bruh, fuck that. If you got a woman like that, you don't need her.
Come on, man.
You know what I'm saying? She need healing too. Fuck that. I know you got, you don't want to leave because you got the kids and all that, but yeah, you better work on that. At first you need to work on yourself because you ain't gonna be able to help her, get there, but you need to work on yourself. But if she don't want to hear what you feel and what she said to you and what she did to you and how it make you feel, she not the one for you, bro. And I ain't here to tell you that, but I'm here to tell you that. You know what I'm saying? You need to make better decisions, man. Yeah.
No, I like that. Because you can't tell somebody that somebody ain't for them.
Yeah.
But you can.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a way to do it. You know what I'm saying? So I love that, man. But no, man, I felt all of that, man. Because a lot of men, we live in a society that tells men that their only value is to pay bills and a paycheck, and that's your value. That's the extent of your value as a man. Your feelings are, listen, man. Like I say, you can see this stuff in broken homes and in even homes where there's a man and a woman married, where where a man's feelings and emotions are just not being taken seriously. I mean, just as a society, we have to do better. I mean, the first time I sat on a couch in therapy, I was 30, and I don't even know why I did it. I just tried it, and I was very skeptical. I thought it wasn't going to work. But I knew at that time I didn't love myself. I was going through my divorce, and I was like, man, I don't love Donald. And there's a lot of men out here that don't love themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And if I don't love me, I don't give a damn about you.
Yeah.
If I don't love me, oh yeah, I definitely kill you. If I don't even love myself. And so that's why we got to talk about it, right? Because you got to get back to loving you so you can learn how to love other people. That's why I believe two hurt people can't. You can't.
Nah,
it's not gonna work.
It's destruction.
It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work with two hurt people, man. You got to do the work. My guy Jermaine always say you got to do the work.
Yeah,
you got to do the work individually.
Yeah,
before you can come together as a couple, man. So, man, no, that's
you got to know yourself too.
Come on, man.
You got to know yourself. You know what I'm saying? Know yourself and love yourself.
But hold on a second, D. You know how I first learned myself? In therapy.
Yeah, that's how.
Because I was sitting on the couch running from myself.
Yeah,
and the therapist brought it right back to me. And I was like, "But damn."
Yeah.
I learned myself in therapy.
Yeah, I learned myself through therapy. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie.
That's crazy. Because people always tell you, you got to know yourself. You got to be self-aware. Well, you got to have, it's a process to even getting to the point that you realize, okay, all these problems in my life, there's one consistent factor, and that's me.
Yeah.
So how do I work on me? How do I do the work of self-development and work on myself?
Yeah, if you ain't constantly working on you, because you could always evolve. I'm a student of life. That's what I call it.
Come on, man.
You know what I'm saying? I like to learn. Everybody know me. My brother, everybody talk about it. The one thing about you, brother, if you don't know something, you're going to go research it.
Come on, man.
Right? But it ain't just researching philosophical or institutional education type stuff. It's you too, like personality, your character, your feelings. Like understand your feelings. Like I want to know what this feeling is and why I feel this way. You know, and why I responded this way. You know, so that I don't keep doing the same thing. You know, like earlier I was finna say I had 5 kids, 4 baby mamas. I'm tired of having baby mamas. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to keep having. I want to keep a wife. I was married for 9 years. My previous marriage, we was together 11 years. Like that hurt. That took a lot out of me too. You know, that divorce, because I didn't want a divorce. You know, but you know, circumstances weren't sat out for me and went for me. So I had to let that go. You know, I even turned back around after that divorce and gave the woman a second chance. But yeah, she, you know, some people ain't gonna change, but you gotta change. And you gotta understand that, hey, your change might not align with their changing. You know, so either you gonna make a decision for you, or you gonna go back to that cycle of that way of y'all living, right? And then where you gonna find yourself, you know?
I think that's a great thing about therapy, because therapy will teach you that you can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
Once you realize that, oh, okay. Yeah. I can't change this person, but I can change being around this person.
Yeah.
I have all the power.
You damn right about that. Yeah. And you know what? Once you start realizing that you can't change them, but you change you, in changing you, they start to see the change.
On, man.
And then they start changing.
Come on now.
Because of who you are to them, you know, who you were to them, you know, and they start changing. I could say that seriously about my ex-wife. Like I could see the change in her now, and I ain't taking credit for it, but I know that when she try to take me there or get me there, my response ain't the same. So now that my response ain't the same, she has to change. You know what I'm saying? So she started changing. So now our relationship is a little bit better because I'm not giving you what you were expecting. You know, I'm not responding how I used to respond.
It's because you wasn't responding.
Right.
You was reacting.
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
There's a difference. But you're right, though, because I think about some conversations that I've had with my ex in relation to the kids, and it would be very demonstrative messages. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to respond to that. I'm not going to react. I ain't going to do anything. But if I do say something, I'm going to respond. Yeah. I'm not going to react because she's reacting.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, it's just too negative. Reacting is negative. Yeah. Responding is positive. Give it 24 hours, think about it. Then I'll give some sort of response that makes sense. Yeah. It's not emotional. When I respond about certain things, I don't want to get into the feelings. I'm just going to stick to the facts.
Yes.
This and this and this happened.
Yes.
Factually.
Yes.
Now you can surmise it and however you want to with all your feelings, but I'm only dealing with the facts.
Yeah.
And after that, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah. Because a lot of people don't even know how to explain their feelings. You know, I learned that through counseling. You made me feel. Nobody made you feel no kind of way. You know what I'm saying? I learned that through counseling. So they when they start feeling a certain way, they start what you call it reacting.
Come on, man.
You know, that's that reacting. You know what I'm saying? So like you got to respond, like you said, you got to respond and manage those feelings and understand your feelings, so that you respond appropriately. Because the facts are the facts.
Man, listen, man, I got this thing I say, man. Facts don't feelings don't change facts, but facts can change feelings.
Yes. Yes.
So if I'm sticking to the facts at some point, but you know what? He was right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I deal with that with my siblings sometimes when we're dealing with some family stuff, and I'm just like, I just stick to the facts.
Yeah.
And they don't like what I say. It makes them mad. They get in their feelings.
Yeah.
But eventually they'd be like, dang, Donald was right.
Yeah.
I just didn't like the way he said it, but he was right. I'm just sticking to the facts, guys.
Yeah.
You know, there's, you know, the facts are the facts. It doesn't matter how someone says the facts. If I say 2 + 2 is 4, you don't get to disagree with that because you didn't like how hard I said it. I mean, it's still a fact.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I get this all the time. Your delivery, it's your delivery. I'm like, shit, okay. So, and I get it. I'm working on delivery now. I do pay respect to delivery matters, you know, because you're dealing with fragile people, sure. Right? Sure. So it's no different than, how I like to say it was, like, if I get an Amazon package, right, and the box is all bent up, it's all messed up, you know, it's destroyed, wet, and all that, right? But what's in the inside ain't nothing wrong with it. You know, what I ordered is intact. It's everything I wanted. I'm pleased with it. But you gonna get mad because the box is wet and it's messed up and it looks ugly and it's destroyed. You know, you already in your feelings when you see the box, right? Because you like, I know they ain't fuck up my damn, you know what I'm saying? Whatever it is you order, you know, you're like, I'm about to send this back. You ain't even looked at it yet, but the box messed up, so you feeling some kind of way. So you already in your feelings about the delivery, right? And I said this to somebody before, I'm like, you know, but the box is just the delivery, right? But the package is the prize. It's what you want, right? That's the message, right? Do you understand the message? It ain't about being right or wrong. I don't care about right or wrong. Let's care about the understanding. Do you understand the message? So when we have an understanding, now we can move forward. But if we don't have no understanding and you think it's about right or wrong, or you focus on my delivery, you ain't gonna never understand me. We ain't gonna never understand each other because you're not looking for understanding. You looking at judging me on how I delivered the message, what I said, how I said it. It don't matter how I said it, because sometimes the truth hurt, and you don't want to face it.
Man, I got something that I say a lot to my business partners and even my wife. I'll say, focus less on being right and more on getting it right. Everybody wants to be right. Sometimes, man, me getting it right means just letting something go and making somebody else think that they're right. And I know they're wrong, but I need to get this situation right because of the relationship. So, you know, so focus more so on getting things right versus being right, because people really want to be right.
Yeah.
Even when they're wrong. Or you could be right today, but then get it wrong and long term be at a loss.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think there's something to that, man. So I don't know, man. So, you know, so even when I came and I talked to your guys, man, I understood that so delivery is important, because like these folks, like if I'm coming here talking on a certain level, they may not be able to receive it, right? And I need them to receive it. I need them to be able to hear what I'm saying, you know, and feel like, okay, yeah, this guy, he gets it, you know what I'm saying, to some degree. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, because we have overcome. It's important for me to let you know, listen, I've overcome. I'm here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I need to show you what to aspire to, but I've been where you haven't been where I've been, but I've been where you are.
Right.
So I can speak to that. But ultimately, we're trying to get you on another level.
Yeah.
So it's important for me to let you know I am on another level now. I'm definitely on another level, and I want you to be here.
Yeah.
But I got to let you know I've been to your level.
Yeah.
I've been down to the bottom.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what you're always trying to tell these guys, man. When I'm in there, I'm seeing you speaking their language.
Yeah.
Because you need to get to them. You can't be all, college degree talking. You got to talk to them to where my grandfather would say, put it to where the goats can get it.
Yeah.
I got to put it to where you can get it.
Yeah. You got to. And people criticize me for that all the time, right? They like, I've had people that came with, part of the organization, volunteer, it's an all volunteer group. And we ain't got no money yet, but we on the way. We gonna get there. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, it's gonna be a household name, Manhood to Womanhood Tour. But people say, why you use the word bitch? Why you use these words? And I'm like, what's wrong with me using the words? I'm not talking about somebody in particular. I'm just saying, yeah, man, I remember, I feel, sometimes you want to slap that bitch. Sometimes you want to, because that's the language that they use, right? So if I don't connect with them and I don't be real, because that's real, that's who I used to be. If I don't connect and be my authentic self, then I can't. It's not going to create that environment that we need to create, right? That comfortable environment. So what's wrong with my language? There's nothing wrong with the language. Here we go again. You're looking at the delivery, right? But you ain't understanding the message, and the connection, right? So. You gotta your story.
Hold on a second. You said looking at the delivery, but you're delivering it that way so that it can be received.
Exactly.
Because of who I'm talking to.
Exactly. Because of who I'm talking to. So I'm sitting here thinking that we vibing and you over here judging. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I'm vibing. Is that what it is? Mainly, that's what it is. Then you judging because we vibing and you couldn't vibe or whatever it is. But like, we gonna connect. And once we connect, we're going to build, we're going to heal, we're going to talk about those tough things that we didn't talk about in our households, or that men don't talk about in their circles, right? We're going to talk about those tough things, and we're going to address them, you know, like, because we talk about credit as well, right? You're a man, right? You're supposed to be a provider. You provide based on what you can provide, right? If your credit ain't right, how you provide, right?
Come on,
Let's
man.
talk about that credit. You know, if you don't know how to build it, you don't know how to maintain it, you need to go see help. SRP, another shout out.
Yeah, man.
You know, free financial counseling services
For sure.
that they provide for the men and women that graduate the program. Because, like, don't be embarrassed by it. The embarrassment should be when you get that damn letter in the mail that said no. That's the embarrassment.
But listen, I love this, man, because you said connect, and to me that's the delivery. You're connecting. Then you said build, then heal.
Yeah.
But you got to connect first.
Yes.
There's a reason why certain people get to connect in certain communities and some people can't. Because there's no connection. You can't connect. I can't build and heal someone until I connect first.
Yes.
Don't worry about the connection. I know what I'm doing. I'm connecting on a level that this person can understand.
Yeah.
And once I connect, now I can build and heal this young man, and we can move forward.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, and I ain't being fake on my connections. You ain't got to be fake. You know, I'm for real. I've been through it. You know, and we all have, and we all gonna continue to go through it. It was a gentleman that came from a staffing agency, white guy, and he said something. He said, "You got to learn how to live with the hard. Like once you get that, the hard won't be hard no more.
I like that.
Learn how to live with the hard." Yeah, I took that from him. Like this was like last month. He said, "Learn how to live with the hard." And hard ain't got nothing to do with color.
No,
you know,
I don't.
white or black. Like people go through stuff. You know, there's dysfunction everywhere. You know, so it don't put it on color because we black and we from the projects or we from this neighborhood. White people go through that same thing.
Facts.
They got them same. They just they different color. Put it like that. They just look different than us, but they go through the same thing. They got baby mama dramas like we got baby mama. They got all kinds of the same thing. So color ain't got nothing to do with hardship.
I love that.
Ain't got nothing to do with hardship.
That's something I use too, man. I'll be telling folks, listen, man, paying your bills is hard. Not having a job is hard. Being successful in your business is hard. Choose your hard.
Yes.
You just gotta choose your hard.
Yeah.
It's all hard. Choose the hard. Because none of this is easy.
Nah.
So
None
you
of
just gotta choose your hard. So
None of
yeah, I like that. Man.
And if I knew it was like I didn't want to be this guy with Manhood to Womanhood Tour. When we first started out, I just wanted to be the guy in the classroom, right? I didn't want to
like
be
a volunteer.
Nah, like because I wrote the curriculum, right? So I believe in the curriculum. So I wanted to be the facilitator, not the leader of the organization. There was another guy that was supposed to be the leader, and I was like, "Hey, you be the leader. You take the credit because you want to be in Congress. You want to be a congressional, right? So you take the credit so that you get the clout, and I just want to be here to impact the people, right? So it's gonna be all on you to lead the organization, right? And you lead, and I do the classroom part, right? And I got the curriculum and all of that. Well, he left, and when he left, I had to take the stands. You know what I'm saying? I had to lead. So then learning all of that, like,
so it's supposed to be like a partnership?
It was supposed to be. It's a nonprofit, right? So a lot of people ask me this too. Why is it a nonprofit and not a business? Well, I believe this is for the community. This ain't about David Mew. Because if it's about me, then I'll be looking at it from a monetary stance or some other stance, right? Like it ain't about me; it's about the people, right? So when you keep it as a nonprofit, everybody gets involved because everybody got a say, right? Everybody got their ideas and their passion because everybody got pain, right? So you keep on pouring pain and turning it into purpose. This thing can evolve to something that's going to impact millions of people. The goal is to implement this in every judicial circuit we can get it into, right? And it wasn't to start in judicial circuit. We wanted to focus on the at-risk youth, right? And that's who we adopted Performance Learning Center as one of our schools to focus on at-risk youth. But we want to focus on the youth, 12 and up, right? But we understood that if we don't have something in place for the parents or the elders.
Let me ask you this real quick. So, because I know when I spoke, it was 2 young men in there under 16.
Yep.
And so their parents have to sign off on them to be in the program?
Nah.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
All right.
They could just send them. You know,
Okay.
12 and up. They just send them, you know, and it's open to the community, even though we know it's a court order diversion program. But we focus on parents as well because we understand that where I come from, right? You know, a lot of these students, a lot of 12 and under or 12 and older, right? They go home to dysfunction. They have no environment. They have no structure. They have nothing, right? So then who's training them? Who's helping them? Those parents that need that help, right? Who's helping them? So now it's a twofold. I want to help the students, right? 12 and up. That's the at-risk youth. And then the diversion program, right? We had to catch them some kind of way because how many people you know that are going to just show
voluntarily
up
go
and say, I need help?
I think the first question that I asked that group was, how many of y'all are here because you have to be
Yeah,
here?
you did. You sure did.
But shout out to them, I mean. If you have to use the diversion program through the court system to get them there, so be it.
Yeah, it's because it's all about help. It ain't about nothing else but help. You know what I'm saying? Like, we going to help each other. Like, it ain't, don't look at it just, I'm helping you. No, we helping each other. Because I get something out of every session. We've been doing this since April of 2024, right, with the courts. We in May, June coming up now, 2025. Been there every Wednesday. Every Wednesday.
Yes, sir.
I done missed a couple Wednesdays because we had a phenomenal team. So I was able to take a little vacation here and there. But every Wednesday I'm there, you know, every Wednesday night, and it's pouring to people and people pouring into me.
Yeah, shout out to your team, man. You got a couple of good young guys there. Listen, man, anything else you'd like to leave us with before we wrap up?
Hey, follow us on all social media platforms. That's Manhood Tour and Womanhood Tour. Also, we need donations. You can cash out Manhood Tour to donate because we feed the men and women every night. We also need volunteers. We also need more facilitators. We want professionals, but you ain't got to have a solid career profession because we understand you may be in a point of your life where you ain't got there yet, but you're going to get there. So we want people to come in and just pour in, help out, you know, and help this community of what we're doing, this program just evolve, right? Because if we all, like, build this community and we have this unity, a lot of this destructive activities is going on around us with violence, you know, especially gun violence, fighting on social media, all that stuff will go away. It'll start fading away. But we ain't gonna do it if you just sitting there watching it and you ain't actually being active in it and trying to stop it and prevent it. Like, this is a preventive measure right here. That's how I believe in Manhood to Womanhood Tour. Yes,
sir. Listen, guys, this is going to conclude my episode with David Mew. I'm about to mess up. FreeGameDonD, life, family, and business.